Side.
All right, welcome back. We are joined now by our senior digital content producer, Stephen Bonner, because
Hello.
we are a week from Election Day.
Yes,
we
are.
A lot going on in the world right now, but Election Day 1 week from today, next Tuesday. And, this isn't catching as much attention per chance because, not a presidential election, not one where we're electing a new governor, but still a lot of really important, very localized issues, many of which are called millages. And if you're thinking to yourself, what the heck is a millage? That's why Stephen's here, because he is incredibly politically savvy. And we're going to kind of walk through what this looks like on the ballot and then some specific examples of some things that are going to be up for a vote next week. So let's just get right into it. When we talk about millages, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, millages are basically just like a property tax that is levied based on your property value, and it's used to fund public institutions like schools or police department, fire department, even some city government stuff. They're typically approved by voters, but there are some instances where they're not, like there's a basic millage across the state that helps fund schools that is not voter approved. It's just built into our taxes. But the majority of them are approved by voters. And then they're usually used to raise funds for like a very specific purpose. So like, I'll give you an example. This election cycle, Lowell is doing a millage to spray for spongy moths. So that money can only be used to spray for spongy moths. And so there's things like that where it's essentially most of the time, it's a very specific use of the money, but there are some general things as well.
And for people thinking, okay, why do I care in this moment? It's because this is your money that you can have your voice be heard on whether or not you want your money spent in that way. More often than not, it's your property tax, could also be other sorts of monies. So it's do you want to have your voice heard on I want it for spongy moss spraying, or do I not? Do I want it allocated for something else? So just a little side note there.
Yeah. So millages to determine how much you pay essentially when they show up on the ballot, they are levied at a mill. So. Yeah, that graphic right up there. So millages levy using mills. 1 mill is equal to $1 per $1,000 of taxable value on your property. So that's kind of confusing. Taxable value on your property is essentially your home value, about 50% of that. So about half your home value is how much your taxable value is on your home. So for every mill, you are going to be paying $1 for $1,000 of your taxable value. So example is 2.5 mils on a $400,000 home, so you'd have a $200,000 taxable value in your property. Those 2.5 mils would equate to $500 per year, and that equation at the bottom essentially shows you have your $200,000 of taxable value, divide that by 1,000 to get down to mils, and so that's your 200 mils, and then or your $200 that you're paying, and then you multiply that by 2.5 mils to get to your $500 per year. It's kind of confusing, but the good thing about it is that you can very easily go on Google and say millage tax calculator.
There we go.
And then it spits it out. You put in your property value, the millage that you're looking at, what that would be levied at, and then you just put those values in, then it'll tell you how much you're going to be paying annually, monthly, or even by the day. It drills it down for you.
Yeah, so and that number could very well be, different for a lot of different people depending on the value of your home and your taxable income.
Exactly, and how much the millage is being levied for.
Right.
Yeah. So then the next thing I want to look at is there's 4 different major types of proposals when it comes to millages. There's operating millages, which essentially fund like salaries and day-to-day operations of your like police department, of a school district, things like that. There's bond proposals. Bond proposals are when you ask the public for a large sum of money up front that is used for a very specific cause. Most of the time, if not all the time, it has to be like a large capital project, facility upgrades, building construction, and by law, it cannot be used for like repair, maintenance, salaries, or operating costs. So school districts are mainly the ones that use these bond proposals. They're doing it to like build a new gymnasium, to upgrade some of their football fields, or even like do basic upgrades to buildings, adding air conditioning, et cetera. And then another way that a school can get this money for these large capital costs is a sinking fund millage. And instead of getting the money up front with a bond proposal, you're going to be slowly gathering the money. So a bond proposal, you get like $50 million straight up front, but then you have to pay interest on it when you pay back your bond. A sinking fund millage, you're essentially paying slowly over the years into a fund that'll turn into a large amount of money that you can use then on a large capital project like a stadium or something like that. And then the last one is a specific service millage. That's like we said with the Lowell Spongy Moths, or I think last election cycle there was a municipality that asked voters if they wanted to fund putting up streetlights on some streets. So it's specific services like that is a specific service millage. And those are the four basic types of millage proposals that you're going to see on ballots. There'll be some slight variations, but they're pretty rare. Those are the ones you're going to see most of the time. And then the next thing is it's very important to see if your millage is a homestead millage or a non-homestead millage. So homestead millages are only going to tax primary residents. They're usually at lower rates because it's like the residential people that live inside of a school district or something. And then there's non-homestead millages, which only affects businesses, rentals, second homes, different properties that are similar to that. Usually has a much higher rate. So it's very important to see, is this a homestead millage or is this a non-homestead millage? Because sometimes you might be looking at a millage rate of like 18, which is incredibly high, but it's a non-homestead, so it wouldn't affect you directly. It would only affect businesses in your area, second homes, things like that. So that's important to look at to see if you're going to be paying the money or if a business is going to be paying the money.
Is it my money we're talking about or somebody else's? A differentiation there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last thing I want to look at, this is a little bit confusing. So in the 1970s, Michigan passed an amendment that basically says if property tax increases, property values increase faster than the rate of inflation, it will reduce the amount of a millage you pay. And it's basically to protect homeowners and business owners from like paying a ridiculous amount of money on a millage that they had previously approved if like if property values skyrocket. So like how we've seen over the last like 5 years, a lot of property values have shot up, and this has actually caused a lot of these Headley Amendment rollbacks. And so what that does is it reduces the millage rate, so you're paying pretty much what you were paying before, but it's keeping it in parity as opposed to like when your property value goes up by like 50%, you're still paying about the same in property taxes.
Right.
So it's protecting you. So like if your home value shoots up, you're not all of a sudden having to pay like an extra $1,000 on your property taxes.
Say the beginning of that part again, just to refresh. Just so, okay, I know that you said this could be confusing. So we're talking inflation, your tax base, your property tax, and what's the relationship there one more time?
Yes. So basically, if your property value, like the taxable property value, raises faster than the inflation rate on the dollar, the U.S. inflation rate, then you're going to have the millage rate rolled back so that you're not paying a ridiculous amount of money.
Right.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so the next thing I want to do is take a look at a couple of real-life examples on your ballot this time around. One of the biggest ballot proposals, this one affecting most people, if not the largest ballot proposal, is the Kent Intermediate School District enhancement millage. And so Kent Intermediate School District is kind of weird. It's like an umbrella for all public schools in Kent County, plus some private schools and public school academies. And basically, they kind of help distribute some funds and do other basic services for school districts in the county. And so what they're asking this time around, the current millage is set to expire at the beginning of the school year next year. It was originally approved in 2017 at 0.9 mils. So that's basically 90 cents for every $1,000 of taxable value on your home property. That got rolled back because of the Headley Amendment that I just previously mentioned to 8.498. And so now the Kent Intermediate School District is asking voters to renew and restore the 0.9 mils millage rate for the next 10 years. And what they are saying, what the school district is saying, is that these funds raised through this millage will account for about $357 per student in the county annually. And that money can be used by schools for specific needs. Some of those specific needs are like special education, career and technical education, college readiness programs, student mental health, just a bunch of different like, not necessarily operational costs, but like programs and things like
Investing in children and students.
And that's going to be across the entire county. So it's like affecting almost all the school districts in the county, including some private ones and some public ones as well. But one thing I wanted to point out is, I don't know if you could zoom in on this specifically, but this is the Kent ISD enhancement
There we go.
millage.
Yeah, look over there.
Who's going to read all this? This
That's
is
a lot
like
of words.
a whole page. So we have a fantastic guide right now on our website, 13onyourside.com/elections, that kind of breaks it down and like lays out what the school's saying and what kind of the specifics of this millage proposal is. So that's another thing why I wanted to like share how long that was.
Yeah.
Where most people aren't reading this when they go to the ballot or to go to the.
It's a lot of information to take in, but Stephen
Exactly.
has done a lot of work to simplify this for all of us who are not as politically savvy as he is, which I so appreciate, and hopefully so do you.
Yeah. And so the last one I want to look at is another, I'd say one of the largest proposals on the ballot, and this is a $230 million bond proposal by Rockford Public Schools. This is an interesting bond proposal because it won't give the money to the school district all up front. It's going to be dispersed over 3 disbursements in 2026, 2028, and 2032 at differing values. The main purpose of the funding for this bond will go towards like things like adding air conditioning to all remaining schools that need it, some gyms and cafeterias that are basically the same facility at this point are going to be split up so that every school has a gym and a cafeteria. It's going to update some aging infrastructure, do some enhancements to outdoor facilities. I believe there's some new turf for their football field and stuff like that. So the weird thing about this one is the bond proposal will not change the millage rate. So there's already a debt millage rate of 7 mils for the district. This bond proposal won't change that at all. Instead, it's just going to lengthen the amount of time that the school district is going to be paying back interest and principal on this loan. And that could essentially change some things looking forward for them. It could make it less likely that they could issue bonds in the future because there'd be too much debt. So there's some pushback to this one, and there's some other people saying that's necessary. Like I said, there's a guide on our website, and then Rockford Public Schools has a guide, and I believe there's a link on our website to an opposition guide as well, if you wanted to learn about what both people are saying about this type of bond proposal.
And again, WZZM13.com/elections.
Correct.
Stephen has broken all of this down really fantastically, with each county, what's happening in each county, the election guides that you can look on their websites. He explains what all of these different types of proposals and millages are. So if you still have questions, please check that out. It's a tremendous resource. But we so appreciate you explaining this because, just because it's not the excitement of a presidential election doesn't mean that it's not so important, especially right here in our, very local communities. Which is so great.
This is affecting your property taxes. This is affecting students. This is affecting even like some local fire departments and police departments if they're having millages. So it's very important to read and understand what these things are all about.
And ultimately your money, which we all can agree we care about. Okay, Stephen, thanks so much. We appreciate this. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Blake will have our Halloween forecast.